Welcome back to the Glow Up Girl podcast. I'm Kyra. All right, let's welcome Samantha into the show. Welcome.
Hi, Kyra. So excited to be here.
Yes, I'm so glad to have you. So let's get started by having you tell our audience listening or watching who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Samantha Kozuch. I'm the creator and founder of the Maniscripting Journal, which is a life design journal for women. And I help women basically get out of their own way. I help them really not just step into their power, but get really clear on what they want for their lives.
Mhm.
And our journal kind of revolves a little bit around manifestation, but it more focuses on shifting their identity so they can actually become the woman that they need to be in order to get and achieve all the goals that they have.
Awesome. I love that. All right, so we're going to start by let's talk about your journey, right? To finding, launching, and growing, first of all, this very successful e-com business that you have.
Yeah, so it all actually started during COVID. I feel like there was so many amazing brands built out of it, but creating and launching this journal was never really a goal of mine. I was prior to that a social media coach, online business coach, which kind of came back from I was an influencer back in the day, and people just started asking me how to, launch their online business and get really good at social media. And during COVID, when I had, courses and was coaching and had a big community of students and clients, when that hit the world, I just noticed that everyone started panicking, didn't know what to do,
Mhm.
were losing their income, jobs. We all went through it, so I don't need to explain the feelings and emotions that came with that. But during that time, I just kind of started sharing what I had been doing for to that
Mhm.
point, about 8 years of really getting not just clear on my goals and creating the mindset, a growth mindset to stay focused, but also when I had kind of like hit my rock bottom in my mid 20s, I really went through this phase of having to rebuild everything. And I felt like a lot of
Mhm.
people in my community were at that moment of like, oh my gosh, whether they lost their job or were forced into
Right.
creating their online business. So I started sharing meditation techniques, journaling techniques, stuff to really help them get into the mindset. And as I was doing this, this was just like on social media for fun. Like that wasn't really part
Mhm.
of my business at all. I was just really much about like structure, all of that kind of thing. So when I started sharing these tools that I had been using for a really long time, thinking, doesn't everybody do this, right? Doesn't everybody already meditate and all of that? I started getting really great feedback from the people in my community. And with that came, Sam, like, do you have like a PDF download for these journaling prompts? Or, these meditations sound so great. Like, is there a place I can access them? So, as being an entrepreneur already for pretty much a decade, I had this download moment of like, oh my gosh, like all of these techniques aren't,
Mhm.
it wouldn't be great for me to just give them as a PDF, some sort of
Right.
freebie download where it would just get lost in someone's inbox and, they'd never see the light of day again. So in that moment, I just had this download of, you know what? This all needs to be in a book. Like I journal every day. I use a physical book every day, like, and all
Mhm.
of the processes and methods that I do and now teach,
Right.
I felt it just had to be in some sort of beautiful journal that someone would get excited about to use every single day.
Right.
So in that moment, I just decided, let's just do it. I'd never created a product. I've never manufactured a product. I've never shipped product. My entire life up until that point revolved around my phone and a computer. Like it was all virtual
Right.
online.
Mhm.
So I just dove into learning and I got really excited about it, started diving into podcasts, YouTube, Google, asking how to manufacture, what are the processes going to be.
Right.
I'm really obsessed with figuring it out on my own. And, about 6 months later, we had our first edition of the journal ready to be shipped. And, that was now almost 5 years ago. And
Wow.
now here we are today with a flourishing business or a super big community of women. And
Mhm.
that's how it started.
Awesome. That is very inspiring. Um, just on a number of levels, I love that, there was an opportunity, you saw it, your people, but there was also a need, right? You have people asking for it. And I think that's the important thing when we start businesses, that you start businesses based on things that your target audience is looking for.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like my entire entrepreneurial career up until then was
Mhm.
exactly that. People would
Mhm.
call it like pivots or changing direction, but I feel like from even just being, I started back in college being a model and an actress. Then from there, social media started. Oh, I can now put this online. And then we became influencers. And then from there
Mhm. Mhm.
was someone asking, hey, how did you become an influencer? How did you get collabs? Okay, I can teach you. It became a coach. Okay, you built the online business. How can you sell stuff? I turned into an online business coach.
Yeah.
And now here we are. So I feel like
Mhm.
every time anyone is in this place of like, you just have to see the signs, right? And listen to your
Mhm.
community of what
Yeah.
they want. And if you can deliver it, go for it.
Yeah, I like that. That's really smart and it makes a lot of sense. And I think it's helpful for people just to even hear your journey. I mean, because you did the work, like you understood the need, but you did the work to figure it out. And I love that you were able to like figure it out yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like you just was like, look, let me dig into YouTube and Google and
Yes.
let me find out how to do this.
Yeah.
And I think that's really amazing. All right, so the manuscripting method.
Mhm.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So honestly, it's not something revolutionary, I don't think. But what I love about this method is, most people set these really big goals, right?
Mhm,
And, everyone's probably written a New Year's resolution before, right? And it's probably
mhm,
some big drastic goal, some big drastic change that they want to make in their lives. But then they look at that goal and then it might be exciting for a week or two, but they haven't mapped out the steps to go do it.
mhm,
They give up on it. It's like
mhm.
what 70% of people that set New Year's resolutions, they give up on it by the third week.
Right.
And it's because you haven't yet done the processes or the methods to even just like shift your identity to regulate your nervous system to change. Because
Mhm,
who we are today is a combination of all the thoughts, emotions, actions that we've taken in the past.
mhm,
That's who we are today. So it's like if we want to change something about our future, we got to change who we are today. So through the method, you kind of go through this discovery process of figuring out, okay, well, what has been holding me back? What are these old stories that I'm telling myself that I can't go do that thing? What
mhm,
is the process for me to actually get to that point? Like, say, if today you're making $1,000 a month, and you have this goal of making $100,000, that's going to shock the system, right? And the body,
mhm,
like, that's such a big number. Like, there's so many limiting beliefs behind it. So the whole method takes you through this process of, okay, let's get clear on what you actually want. Let's get clear on what's been holding you back. Let's get clear on what steps you need to take. And
mhm,
then with that, it's just a whole process and method of doing different things inside the journal every single day to help
mhm,
you not only just stay excited, but breaking those bigger goals
mhm.
down into those smaller actionable steps that you can actually take action on.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that because that is everything you said is so true. Because it is like everybody starts and they have this really big scary goal, but that's what they have, but they haven't thought about like the action steps to get there. And then also too, like you mentioned, I mean, a big goal is going to take longer
Yes.
than like because a lot of times people are like, well, I gotta do this in like a month or two. Or sometimes a big goal can be like 6 to 7 months, and you're just accomplishing small things leading up to like completing the larger goal.
Yeah.
And then people, and the reason I think a lot of times that people don't, they lose interest is because they forget to one, like you said, they don't have it mapped out, but two, then they don't celebrate the small things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like we also live right now in this instant gratification.
For sure.
Like,
Yeah.
like Amazon Prime, same day, next day delivery, right? We can get on social media and get that dopamine hit really quickly, or we're
Mhm,
seeing the highlight reels of people of them celebrating their successes and
mhm,
like you're feeling less than because you're like, oh my gosh, like I must suck or I'm so behind
mhm.
or oh, it's we live in
Yeah.
this world now where so much is at our fingertips, but it's
Mhm.
also it really makes us feel like, oh, we're not doing things fast enough and it's not
Yeah.
good enough, or we're not smart enough, not pretty enough. And in
Yeah.
the turn, we end up giving up on those things.
Yeah, and good things take time. I still
Yeah.
believe that. Still believe that's true. So yeah, I definitely really love that technique. And like you said, yeah, it may not be like a new method, but it's like a method that people forget about and don't use.
Make
So, and it's a method that's proven to work if you
yes,
just follow the steps.
just do it. Yeah.
All right, so you talked about when you were telling your story in the beginning, you talked about manifestation.
Mhm.
And so can you talk about why that's been why that has been important to you and the work that you do?
Yeah. So when it comes to manifesting, when I got deep into it, now I come from like a really religious background. And when I learned about manifestation, right? Like when I learned about it back in my mid 20s, and now it's so popular, like it's all over social media.
Right. Yeah.
Easily tap into it. But the one thing that really kind of shifted my mindset is like, we are the creators of our reality, right? Like I know that there's a high power, God, whatever it is that you believe in, right?
Mhm.
Yes. But also, we are the creators, right? So every single second of the day, we're manifesting. No matter if you believe in it, quote unquote, or not, you're
Mhm.
manifesting because it is your thoughts, which create
Mhm.
emotions, it creates your energy, it creates your frequency. That's what you're putting out into the world. And whatever you're getting back and whatever you right now see in your reality, like you have created that because of all those things that you've done in
Mhm.
previous past selves. So when I learned this, that really created this mindset shift for me because I was always a very big high achiever, overachiever, always getting the things done that I was told to do, told to be, all of those things.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, if you just continue living a life where you're just reacting to things, right? You're obviously going to
Mhm.
create a life that's not fully what you want. And I think
Yeah.
that's also why people wake up in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, they have their midlife crisis and whatever. They're just like, I don't even love what I'm doing or what I'm enjoying. So I think bringing that power back to believing and trusting, and I call it manifestation, but trusting and believing that like you are your creator and you have the power to change your current life situation and reality. Like that's what brings back that power to you.
Mhm.
And that's what makes manifesting really cool when you play this game of, oh no, I'm the creator. I can make the shift. I can make things
Mhm.
happen for me.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. And I think that's really important because I think when people, like you said, whether people know it or not, like you're always manifesting just from like the self-talk,
Yes.
the emotions, whatever's going. So if you're like in a day and you're like, oh, I'm having a terrible day and like everything sucks, like I'm never gonna get to the goal that I want to reach, then you're like manifesting that you'll never get to the goal that you want to reach.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you think about it, right, if we're in those lower level energetic vibrations of
Mhm.
I suck, I'm not good at it, or I don't know, or even just like being depressed or having a lot of anxiety, right? It's like, what can you actually create from that energy, right? Like you can't take those emotions and go create something great. You can't take
Yeah,
those emotions and go build something and go for your goals, right? Because you're not excited about it, obviously. So
exactly.
like being able to like just tap more into that mindset and starting, and that's why even with the journal you do it first thing when you wake up because you want to start just reprogramming that subconscious mind to
Mhm.
replace those negative thoughts that you have, start replacing them with those positive ones because our entire existence is very habitual. And
Mhm.
because we have like 80,000 thoughts a day, and I think 75% of those thoughts are repetitive. So if every day in and day out saying, I'm not good at it, I'm never going to make it, oh my gosh, this is taking too long, all right? It's like
Yeah.
that's why nothing changes in most people's lives because they have that mentality. But if you switch it to that positive growth mindset, and even in
Mhm.
the beginning, if you don't fully believe it, but you can start replacing those things with, I am smart, like I'm so excited about this goal, or I
Mhm.
am, just excited to be alive, just
Exactly. Yeah.
those little reframes makes a big difference on how your future is going to look.
Yes, I agree with that. Yeah, like almost sometimes you gotta fake it till you make it.
Yes, no, exactly, right? I
Yeah.
say that all the time. Like, you gotta act as if, and it's not to
Mhm.
like act as if to fool other people. It's acting as if. So not only can you just like fool yourself, but it's reprogramming of that subconscious mind that has been in a
Mhm.
certain mode for
Yeah.
however long you've lived in that space.
Yes, agree. Okay, now so I know you talked about earlier, the tools and the resources that you offer, and also saw them on your website. So can you talk about some of those those tools that you offer the community?
Yeah. So tools that we have for the community. Well, one, we have a big online community where I host free master classes every single month in there. Obviously we have the journal. But yeah, just diving into our community is like the best place. And then also we have the Life Transformation Accelerator Academy, which is another deep dive academy where you can go in there. There's so many different modules in helping you, whether it's manifesting money, abundance, love,
Mhm.
relationships, health, wellness, guided meditations, nervous system regulation, all that stuff is in there as well. But basically, it comes down to like if someone is turned off by the word manifesting, like really, this is just like literally changing and developing your mindset.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's all development, like
Yeah,
personal growth, right?
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, okay, so I like that. So you talked about the community. Let's talk about how people can join the community.
Yeah, it's super, super easy. It's literally like there's a button on our Instagram or our website, and there you just dive straight in. There's over 12,000 women in there. So everyone's in there just like sharing different experiences. They're sharing, their transformations, or even just what I love about it most is I created this community solely because when I went through my rock bottom and when I was in this place of wanting to change my life, I didn't
Mhm,
have really any friends and honestly, no family really. Like family always was supportive, but when you're in your crap, it's like it's hard for anyone to really, or at that time for me, it was hard for anyone to like hold that space and
mhm,
understand what I was going through.
mhm,
So when I created the journal, immediately I created the community because I never wanted anyone else to feel that alone. Luckily for me, I had at the time a very unhealthy ego and drive to like get myself out of it.
mhm.
But at the same time, I know a lot of people don't have that and they will just like suffer in their
Right.
pain alone and not talk about it. So what I love about this community is everyone comes to that to share, to get support, to
Mhm,
get help, to it's just such a really great energy in there because
yeah.
I would never ever want someone to go through what they're going through alone, knowing that there are tools out there to help them get
Mhm,
out of it.
mhm. I love that. Yeah. I think, yeah, I think that's really important. And I think you said something like, yes, you can have family but sometimes when we're going through things, you need to be amongst other people who have experienced that same thing. And a little, unbiased opinions too, right? Sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
true.
I love that. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about as a successful e-commerce business owner, right? So we know the world, right? What AI is everywhere.
Mhm.
And with your platform, are you currently using any AI in your business, or have you thought about it?
It's interesting. We have explored a lot of different AI options, but it's interesting because right now we don't technically really use it. I mean, we use Chat GPT for some things as far
Hmm.
as just like getting ourselves organized and stuff like that. But as far as actually implementing AI, we don't. So, for example, all of like even our customer support, it's a real human on the other side.
Hmm.
Um, so not so much yet.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's still a very interesting, like, technology to try to figure out because there is something to like a real human answering, like providing support to someone. And I find like because like I work for an e-commerce company and it's like when you're trying to like these prompts and I'm like, but yeah, but they don't sound like a person.
Yeah, I've
Like,
definitely been on the other end, like being a customer or just, going through an experience where it's like, that's
yeah.
a robot talking to you. And I feel it, and I don't know if it's because I know it because I'm educated about the
Hmm.
thing, but it does make it's way less personal. Like I feel like I guess we just haven't gotten to a place yet
Hmm.
where it feels
Yeah,
natural.
yeah, it
But
doesn't feel natural.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And you're just like, okay, well, never mind.
Right? Right?
Never mind. Don't answer because I need to
Yeah.
talk to a person. I need a
Yeah.
person looking up stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, well, can you talk about just for anybody who might be listening, they might be inspired by you and your journey, and they're saying, I would love to start an e-commerce business. What type of advice would you give to someone?
Okay. So first off, the biggest piece of advice, everyone thinks they can start an e-com product-based business and get rich really quick.
Mhm.
I say to that, be prepared to invest every last dollar into it unless you're getting outside funding. We at Maniscripting, we are completely self-funded. We have not taken on any investor money yet. Maybe in the future, but we really wanted to have control over
Mhm.
100% of the company. And I think in the past couple years, there has been a lot of glitz and glam around getting funded. And
Mhm.
I'm friends with a lot of founders that have been funded, and they have been so unhappy because they are now at the mercy of their investors and they have less say in how the company is ran. And there's pros and cons to both sides as far as funding, because running an e-commerce business, it takes a lot of cash. It really does.
Mhm.
Even if you're selling millions of dollars in product a year, it takes a lot of money to run one successfully. Sure, there are strategies out there, and there are those companies out there that they'll launch a product and they make tons of money, and it's all over social
Mhm.
media with coaches saying this kind of stuff. But honestly, being in it now for 4 to 5 years, it's a grind. And honestly, at the end of the day, you have to have your purpose in it, right? Like, I knew
Mhm.
my purpose coming in is I really wanted to help women and men. Actually, our men's journal is launching tomorrow,
Oh, nice.
which is written by my fiance. So he's heading that project to help support our men out there.
Awesome.
But yeah, that's one of the biggest pieces of advice. Is even when I went into it, I was pretty naive. I was like, cool, I'm gonna like work really hard, sell a bunch of journals, and yeah, 6 months to a year, we're gonna have our money back. I'm gonna be getting a paycheck. No, like it is still very much like we're putting into it all the time, and it's growing. So it's not like a get rich quick scheme. I feel like you got to be really passionate about what you're
Mhm.
doing. Secondly, if you're someone that isn't a person that wants to dive deep into learning all the methods, like for example, when I launched, I didn't have like a coach or anything like that. I truly like there's every single resource for you available online. Like you can find out how to launch. For example, we use Shopify. You can learn how to launch a Shopify store. You can learn how to set up email marketing. You can all of that stuff. All of that stuff is out there for you to do for free. So if you are like a really good self-starter, like you can dive in and learn it all yourself. So if you're thinking like, oh, well, I just don't have the money to invest in a coach right now, like get really curious yourself, because I promise you, it's not that hard to like actually
Mhm.
launch and create all of those things. And then if you need support down the line, like getting into masterminds or getting a coach or something like that is
Mhm.
great. But I mean, so far to date, we've done things pretty much alone and just being really curious
Mhm.
with how to do stuff. So that's really helped us a lot. And I would say the third one is, again, going back to seeing how others are doing on social media. People gloat about their numbers and their sales and their this and
Mhm.
their that and whatever. Like, don't get discouraged, because it wasn't until our last year, what's our fourth year? It wasn't until our fourth year. Well, we hit our first million in our fourth year. But even in my first year in business, we barely made six figures. And I know
Mhm.
to that for some people is like, oh, you're a failure, you're not going to make it. But I just had this mentality of like, no, like we're building, we're growing. This is something new. We're learning
Mhm.
our customer base, we're learning what they need. We can better support them. So being really like focused and like keeping your eye, like whatever that prize is for you, like just keep going and don't let other people's numbers or success derail you. Because ultimately, what I believe to be true, like the fact that this journal came to me as a random download one day as I'm sitting and creating random stories for Instagram about how I changed my life and stuff like that. Like I listened to that and I just ran
Mhm.
with it. And now we have this really successful business. So I feel like if you have this deep down desire, like you just have this knowing, whether it's a ecom or online, whatever, like I just always say, like, if you have this burning desire, and I know it's scary because even when I created this or came with this idea to create the journal, I was like, what? Like, this is crazy. Who am I to do this? Why would I do this? Is anyone going to buy it? All of these things could have held me back. But
Mhm.
now I'm truly living in my purpose. I am doing something now after 5 years, still obsessed with every day. And that's really
Mhm.
hard to say for a lot of people. Like, even
Yeah.
through the downs and the highs and the lows of running an e-com business. Like it's not easy, but I just know that I am living in alignment and in my purpose. And I'm so excited to get up and do and support people in my community every single day with the products that we have.
Awesome. Love that. Awesome. All right. Well, Samantha, please tell people how they can connect to you online.
Yeah. So the best way to connect with me is probably my personal Instagram account. I share a lot from business to life to giving tips on how to change your life. And it's kind of like my all-encompassing place. So it's at Samantha Kozuch. It's just my full name on Instagram.
Awesome. All right. And let's see. So now we're going to transition into three things with Samantha. Going to ask you three questions that helps our audience just get to know you a little bit better. So the first one is a two-parter and a favorite of mine. How do you start and end the day?
Oh, I start the day, well, after you like wake up, brush your teeth, that kind of thing. I always start the day with meditation, red light therapy, my greens, Shilajit, and this meditation Zen spray that I use. And then to end the day, honestly, it's almost like the same thing. Red light therapy, meditation. Oh, and journaling, the Maniscripting journal too from my morning. Ugh, I don't know how to forgot that. And then to end the day, red light therapy, meditation, Zen spray, and yeah, that's literally the last thing I do. And maybe some reading after that.
Okay, awesome. Number two, what's a goal or intention you set for yourself this year?
Ooh, this year actually it was to launch our men's journal. So that's very exciting that we are literally like
Yes.
tomorrow. So that's one big goal. And also I'm planning my wedding right now. So that was another
Oh,
goal to kind of get all of those things done and taken care of before our wedding early next year.
awesome. All right. And last question is, where are you currently finding inspiration?
Ooh, that's a really great question. Where am I finding inspiration? You know, sometimes it's through social media. I'm very particular with the accounts that I follow and the things that I interact with. I'm very mindful of that. And honestly, listening to podcasts.
Mhm.
Uh, I love listening to podcasts. And then also reading. One last one is I really got into reading memoirs this year of like different, like famous people,
Mhm.
stuff, which has been really, really great to kind of learn through other people's experiences. But there's
Mhm.
always so many takeaways that you can use for your own life. So those
Right.
three.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I love that. All right. And before I let you go, what are three things you'd like the audience to take away from our conversation?
Ooh, three things is one, you have the power to change your life and create the reality that you wish. There are just certain things that maybe you just don't know yet or understand that you need to do in order to shift your identity. But if there is some sort of deep burning desire of something that you need to change, lean into that, no matter how crazy it is or it sounds, because there is a reason why it came to you
Mhm.
and you shouldn't ignore that. Second one is, if you're diving into starting a new business, like just keep your eyes on the prize, like keep your head up. Don't let others, who cares what anybody says or thinks, like just go after it because you could just be sitting on a gold mine beneath you. And, those limiting beliefs could just be holding you back from one of the greatest things that you create in this life. And thirdly is I think just going back to really like just like the whole manifestation and self-development thing. I think
Mhm.
the day that you stop learning and growing is the day that you die. Like truly. And I'm not meaning going,
No, I know. I say that all the time.
like, I feel like every single day, it's crazy. I was just thinking about this in the shower randomly because I have a lot of big things coming up in my life that are very scary because I'm constantly pushing myself out of my comfort zone. And I'm just
Mhm.
like, why do I do this to myself? Why do I do these big scary things? Like even getting on podcast interviews, right? Like it's just like they're just like these nerve-wracking things. I'm like, why do I put myself through this? And it's like that's what life is all about. Like we're not meant to stay the same. We're not meant to live this status quo life that's just like boring
Mhm.
and blah, where you complain about it. Like you got to just put yourself into that positive growth mindset and keep going, keep exploring, keep having fun, get creative. Like really, because that just really creates a really beautiful life.
Yes, awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. I really love all the takeaways and just this conversation. You're very inspiring, and I'm sure the audience listening or watching has really like taken so much from the conversation with you today, Samantha.
Thank you so much. It's so fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, and stay tuned, everyone. I'll be right back.